Hello and Assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Kashif Kamran and welcome to the day 3 of the ongoing AAA webinar to success for March 2024 exams. Now, just before I start the proceedings for the day 3, let's have a quick look of what we have done inside the previous 2 days and what is the agenda of the day 3. Now, in terms of the previous 2 days, I have focused on the quick grasp of the AAA Part 1 and Part 2. We have looked inside the syllabus area A, B, C on the day 1, the syllabus area D and E on the day 2, and today we are looking at the syllabus area F, the final one, in terms of the quick grasp of AAA Part 3 on the day 3 today. And then we have more to come tomorrow and day after tomorrow for day 4 and day 5. Now, welcome to the day 3. And in day 3 today, I am taking a quick grasp of AAA Part 3. We need to focus on syllabus area F. It's an important syllabus area, and I would be discussing the exam perspective of this particular syllabus area. Now, syllabus area F is about other assignments in AAA. And we know examiner is very fond of asking questions on other assignments in the section B of the paper. I'm just putting my camera off for the time being. Syllabus area F is regularly examined in section B only. You will never get syllabus area F in section A, right? So this is a requirement which comes only in section B of the paper, and it is regularly examined. It's not like in every single exam sitting, but it's very regular. Like if you look at 5 exam sittings, you might find them in 3. So it's very regularly examined in section B only. There are several other assignments which are examinable in the AAA paper, and each one of them has been tested frequently in the past paper. So there are numerous other assignments you have in your syllabus, and I'll be focusing on each one of them so that you don't miss anyone for the upcoming exams. Forensic, prospective financial information, and due diligence review is more popular among all. So if you look at forensic, you look at prospective financial information, and you look at the due diligence, these 3 are the more popular one among the examining team. And they put lots of questions on this, primarily on prospective financial information, where you find most of the questions in the recent past. So these are the 3 more popular one. The recent addition of assurance on social, environmental, and sustainability information in the last 6 months, along with the recent exposure draft of ISSA-5000 in February 2024, make the testing of this engagement potential for the early 2024 exams, including March 24. Please look at this bullet very carefully. The recent addition of assurance on social, environmental, and sustainability information. I hope if you have seen the articles on the website, examining team has published 2 articles, assurance on social, environmental, and sustainability information, part 1 and part 2. That was in the last 6 months. Now they have introduced a new article on ISSA 5000, which is exposure draft, and which is on the same subject matter, assurance on sustainable information. So that makes this particular topic, sustainability assurance, a very, very important topic for the early 2024 exams, including the March 24 exams. So please ensure you're all very clear on the last bullet. You are all very clear on the articles, which was published in February 24 and in the last 6 months. And I'll be focusing on that as part of my webinar today. So I will just be guiding you more about the recent edition. And I've given a specific time for that in the webinar today. So you will be getting a very proper guidance on assurance on social, environmental, and sustainability information. So nothing to worry about, but just keep watching it. And I think in the last 10-15 minutes, we'll come to that recent edition. Now, when we look at the other assignments in the AAA paper, Let's first start with due diligence review. Let's take an exam focus of due diligence review and let's see how you can prepare yourself for due diligence review. Due diligence review, what a question basically focus on. Now, if you have practiced a couple of past papers on due diligence, you must be knowing what exactly is examined from this topic, and there is repetition, right? Now, questions around due diligence, when you look at the past papers, and when I scanned the past papers on due diligence, this is what I found mostly comes on due diligence. Number one, matters specific to due diligence, which the auditor should focus on. So in most of the questions on due diligence, the examiner will ask you to evaluate the matters, but these are matters not for accepting the engagement. These are not practice management matters, but these are matters specific to the due diligence given in the case scenario. So examining team will ask you evaluate the matters, and a couple of times that has been the case in the past paper. Procedures. We have seen, I think, once examining team asking for procedures in the prior history of due diligence. Additional information, examining team asking for recommend the additional information. So you should have an idea of how you go about writing additional information. I think I have covered a video, which is quite an old video on my YouTube channel, where I have guided student about the difference between procedures, additional information and evidence. So how you write evidence, how you write procedure, and how you write additional information. I'll try my best that I can show you that in course of my webinar today. So at least you know that there is a video on that, and I can also share a link of that as well. But additional information is another common parameter which comes from due diligence. Specific inquiries. I think once or twice the examining team has asked for explain the specific inquiries you should be making on something given in the case study. Now, inquiries is like asking questions to management, or inquiries is like discussing something with management. So specific inquiries you should be doing to management. It's just like writing a procedure, but the tone of the procedure is more like a question because you're doing an inquiry from the management. Something you write in exam paper, discuss. So discussion is more like an inquiry. Benefits of due diligence. I think that's the most favorite area of the examining team, asking you what are benefits of due diligence. So that's more like a knowledge part. What is the scope of due diligence? Again, that is the knowledge factor. And then what is the difference between audit and due diligence? So these are questions which have come on this topic in prior exam settings. The last three on your screen is more like knowledge. But the first three of them are very specific to the case scenario where you need to link them to the case situation. So these are possible areas which have come in past papers on due diligence. And then ethical and professional issues. I think once we have seen, probably that was December 17 paper, if I'm not wrong, where examining team asked for ethical and professional issues arising from the request to perform the due diligence engagement. So if an audit team is performing a due diligence engagement, what sort of ethical and professional issues will arise from it? And examining team is very fond of putting a question on ethical and professional issues. So on your screen, you can see ideally some 7 ways in which a question on due diligence was put in the past paper. Now, you should ensure you've covered each of that on your screen. Which questions you should do to ensure that you've covered each and every aspect of that? Let's look at the key questions. There are 3 key questions you should be focusing on. December 13, question 2. This question will help you prepare for benefits, compare reasonable assurance with limited assurance, and matters. Then you do a question, December 15, question number 3. This will help you prepare with the scope of the audit versus that of the due diligence, specific inquiries, which I was just talking about, and additional information. Then you do the question, December 17, question 3. Again, this question will help you prepare for matters, procedures, and ethical and professional issues. So 3 questions, and you're all set, you're all prepared for taking on the topic due diligence. So you can do these three papers, you can excel on these three papers, and you would know every aspect of things which comes on the topic due diligence. So be very sound and be very clear on this topic. I hope you're all clear, right, with the key questions on your screen and with the type of questions that comes from this topic. Now, just to guide you, I think I've just not opened that up, so I can just do that for you in the session. I hope you can see my YouTube channel on the screen. If I can just guide you about the video, I was talking about additional information. If I can find that for you on my channel, yes, I have found that video for you. I hope you can see this right over here. This is the video which was published 2 years ago. Additional information, procedures, and evidence, and even actions. So I differentiated how you write each one of them in exam paper. And this video was published by me 2 years ago, having something like 7.1K views already. So this is the video you can find from my YouTube channel. Just go to my YouTube channel in the search area, write additional information. See, I just wrote additional information in the search area and I just enter. And the very first video is the additional information, procedures, evidence, and action. Is that clear to all of you? So anyone who is doing a self-study and want to be very clear about how to write additional information or procedure or evidence and action, primarily because additional information comes a lot in due diligence, you would be clear with that. So Deng and Mark and Sally, because you were doing self-study. So have you noted this video down? Will you be utilizing this video for your preparation? Okay, thank you so much. Right. Okay, let's get back to the presentation then, where I was discussing about due diligence, and I've just shown you the video which you can explore in. Okay, the next one, review of prospective financial information. Such a popular other assignment with the examining team. And examining team is very fond of testing this like almost in every second attempt of the AAA paper. Examining team is very fond of review of prospective financial information. Let's see the type of questions which comes from this topic and the key questions you should be practicing. There is no article on due diligence, right? So due diligence has no article. PFI. This is by far the most repetitive and frequently examined other assignment among all. That is what I was just telling you. Question. What a question normally asked on PFI? Matters in accepting the engagement, which is practice management. You must have already done that in syllabus area C, practice management. Matters in accepting the engagement. Either the engagement is from a new client or from an existing client. Now, you know that if you are accepting an engagement from a new client, one thing will add on. That one thing would be know your client, understanding your client, because the client is new to you. So know your client procedures or conducting the client integrity check, ensuring that the client is good. So that sort of an additional matter would come in. Rest all the matters would be the same as you do for existing, like you look into the ethical issues, you look into the fees, you look into the competence level, you look into the scope, you look into the assurance level, etc. So existing and new, everything remains the same. Only in the case of new, you need to add on the client integrity or know your client because the client is new. So you want to put emphasis on that as well. So please be sure from the syllabus area C, practice management, matters in accepting the engagement, whether the engagement is coming from a new client or an existing client. Number two, procedures and evidence on forecast. That's the most important part of a PFI question. Examining team asking you to write procedures and evidence on forecast. Sometimes it's the procedures, sometimes it's the evidence on the forecast given in a PFI question. None of the PFI question will be without a forecast, and none of the PFI question will be without procedure or evidence. So this is like must. Third, evaluate the assumptions used by management in preparing the forecast. and completeness of the cash flow prepared. Has anything been missed in the cash flow? Has the management omitted something in the cash flow? Completeness of the cash flow. This is a very important question. And in the recent past, this question has come a lot, asking you to evaluate the assumptions, whether the assumptions are realistic or the assumptions are unrealistic. If you say the assumption is realistic, why? If you say the assumptions are unrealistic, why? So you need to evaluate the assumptions, and then you need to evaluate that is there something missing in the cash flow? Has management omitted something from the cash flow? Because remember that when you are evaluating a cash flow, what is the risk? The risk is that the cash receipts will be overstated, the cash inflow will be overstated, and the cash outflow will be understated. So keep in mind that risk, that the management overstate the inflow, understate the outflow. Keeping that in mind, you will be able to evaluate the assumptions and the completeness of the cash flow prepared. Next, appraisal of the report. The report will be given, but the report will be a report on PFI, not the audit report. And I think once in the past papers, the examining team has given you a short extract of a PFI report, and they've asked you to appraise it. What is wrong in the report? What is the issue in the report? I hope you're very familiar with the critical appraisal of the audit report, but this is the critical appraisal of the review report. Almost identical things, but that's how things have been in the past paper. Okay, then last, impact on the review report if some of the assumptions are unrealistic as concluded by the auditor. So if the auditor concludes that some of the assumptions are unrealistic, how will this impact the review report? How would you tell this to the intended user that some of the assumptions which are prepared by the management are unrealistic? So even in PFI, there is a reflection of reporting, which has come in the past paper, like appraising the PFI report. And what is the impact on the review report if some assumptions are unrealistic? So look at the diversity you have from this topic, review of prospective financial information, procedures and evidence, methods in accepting engagement, evaluating the assumptions, appraisal of the report, and implication for the report. Now, how would you prepare yourself for each and every aspect of PFI? Let me recommend you some of the questions on it. The key questions. December 22, question number 2. September 22, question number 3. And December 21, question number 2. So see how frequently this has come in recent past, 21, 22, 22. Let's see from December 22 question what you can get in. From the question 2 of December 22 exam, you will get to know the methods in accepting the new client and engagement for PFI. The client was new in December 22, so you were accepting a new client as well as you were accepting an engagement from the new client. So both things were there in December 22, and procedures on capital expenditure forecast. Then in the September 22 paper, you had evaluate the assumptions used by management. You had evidence, not procedures, evidence on cash receipt, and then you have discussed the appropriateness of the audit report. So the audit report and discuss the appropriateness of the audit report on review of prospective financial information. Then in this December 21, question 2, matters in accepting the new client and engagement for PFI. So just like December 22 paper, you were accepting a new client, and from that new client, you were accepting the engagement to review the PFI. Evaluate the assumptions used by management and procedures on cash flow. So these are 3 questions on your screen, which will give you every possible question which comes from PFI. Anyone who has missed the previous days of the webinar, please do WhatsApp me or just go to my YouTube channel. On my YouTube channel, I've just uploaded the previous day 1 and day 2. Okay, so is everyone clear with the 3 key questions on your screen? If you do this, at least you have 100% assurance that I have done every possible question which comes from PFI. So PFI is an important topic, is a very regularly examined topic. There is no article on PFI, just like due diligence, no article. But you need to know what comes from this topic, and you need to ensure that you've done the critical questions around PFI. Right? Good. Okay, now let's move on to the third one. Forensic audit. Number 3. Let's see what comes from forensic audit and what are key questions. Now, when you look at forensic audit in the AAA paper, normally the question on forensic focus on matters in accepting the engagement, just like we had in PFI, or matters in accepting the engagement, which you are familiar from syllabus area C. Procedures is the most important area for forensic audit. And then internal control weaknesses, identifying and explaining the weaknesses in internal control, just like a typical F8 question, and recommendations. This has come once in the past papers, right? Weaknesses and recommendations. And then ethical and professional issues. If the management is asking you to perform a forensic audit, what are underlying ethical and professional issues? Again, that is case specific, no need to rote learn them. So 4 possible questions which has been raised in the past paper on forensic audit. Let's see the key questions you should be doing on forensic. June 15, question number 3C. June 13, question number 2B. And then September, December 19, question number 3. So these are 3 good questions which will give you every possible question which comes from forensic. June 15, question 3C, procedures on alleged bribery given in the case study. June 13, question number 2B, procedures for inventory loss and methods in planning the forensic accounting service. What sort of methods will you consider when you are planning the forensic accounting service? Then in September, December 19 paper, question number 3, methods in accepting the forensic engagement, procedures on inventory loss. So see the repetition, procedures on inventory loss, deficiencies in the internal control system from the case study and recommendations how to improve them, and why it is difficult for management and the auditor to discover fraud. I think that was just a 4 marks requirement, testing your knowledge that what sort of difficulty the management and auditor can face when they're discovering fraud. So that was pure knowledge. But look at the 3 questions on your screen. June 15, June 13, and September, December 19. September, December 19 is the biggest one and the more recent one. And that includes almost everything: procedures, methods, difficulty for management and auditor to discover fraud, and deficiencies in internal control system. So please ensure you do these 3 questions around forensic so you have an absolute command on the subject matter. Is that clear to all of you? Before we move to the 4th one. And yes, the more important thing is that there is an examining team article on forensic, which is by the title of Forensic Audit. And you will find this under the syllabus area F on the website. So you go to the website where you have the articles, syllabus area F, and you will have the article Forensic Audit. So no article for due diligence, no article for prospective financial information, but there is an article for forensic. So you should read this article, because in this article, you will find the exam focus. So anything mentioned in the exam focus can be tested in the future exams of AAA. So please ensure you do read through the article on forensic audit. Is that clear? And I hope you're getting that habit of reading the articles with exam focus, because anything mentioned in exam focus can strike in the future exams. Okay, now moving towards the 4th one. Performance information in public sector. This is the 4th assignment under syllabus area F. Performance information in public sector. Normally the question on forensic, sorry, just need to make that correction here. Just give me 1 second. Just need to ensure, just give me 1 second to make that correction on my presentation. That is a question on Audit of performance information focuses on, right? So just 1 second. I hope you can see the presentation back on screen now. Okay. So normally the question on audit of performance information, which is the fourth assignment we're looking at, focus on procedures and focus on knowledge testing from within the examining team article, right? So it's about procedures and it's about knowledge testing from within the examining team article. There is an examining team article on audit of performance information in public sector. And from that article, a couple of things have been examined in the past sittings of this topic. Procedures is the most important part of this topic, but the questions on this topic are very old. We have not seen any questions from this topic in recent past, like 2020 onwards. So we have old questions, but this particular topic still exists in your exam syllabus. It's still on the ACCA website. So you cannot just say, okay, I'm not bothered about it because some very old questions. No, there is an element of surprise in AAA papers, right? You can still find this question back again. So procedures from this topic and knowledge testing from within the examining team article. Let's see the questions you can do it. June 17, question number 3B and 3C is the latest question, most latest available. And then December 15, question number 2B. So see, the questions here are very old because the topic is not examined in the recent past. In the June 17, question number 3B and 3C, examining team asked for procedures on performance information of Moosewood Hospital. Now, Moosewood Hospital is a public sector. So what sort of procedures will you perform on the given data of Moosewood Hospital in the case study? And then what is the difference between performance audit and audit of performance information? This is given in the article. So you can read the article for the difference. Then in the December 15 paper, question number 2B, procedures on performance information of a university. And this was a public sector university. It was written in the case study, public sector university. And again, the data was given, you need to perform procedures on that and discuss the relevance and discuss the measurability of the reported performance information. Now, what is relevance and what is measurability of the reported performance information? This is something given in the article, knowledge. Right? So very old questions, but this topic still exists in your syllabus and this article still exists on ACCA website. So you cannot say I'm not preparing for it. Audit of performance information. You just need to do the two questions. You just need to read through the article because every time a question has come from this topic, in each of the question, the examining team has tested the article and the knowledge from the article and the procedures. Procedures on something given in the case study, and you need to write procedures on that. In one case, it was the hospital, and in one case, it was the university. And the article on this subject matter is performance information in public sector. You will find this article under the syllabus area F on the website. So you go to the website and you find the articles. And there you will find the article under the syllabus area F, performance information in public sector. So we had an article for forensic. We had an article for audit of performance information. No article for due diligence and no article for forensic. I hope you are clear on that. Now, just let me show you the article on the website before we move to the very important part of the discussion today. Can you all see the articles for other assignments on your screen now? Everyone, other assignments, right? Now you go down and can you see these two articles here? Performance information in the public sector, the one I was just recommending you, and then forensic audit. So please ensure you read these two articles, performance information in the public sector, two questions on them, which I've just mentioned to you. And for forensic audit, I've also mentioned the questions. Now we are coming to the most important part, and that is the three articles which you now look in front of your screen. Look at the three articles in front of your screen now. Just read the titles of the three articles in front of your screen in 1 minute and tell me you have read it. Just read the titles of the three article in front of your screen and then tell me you have read it. Because you're starting with something very important now. Do you found some similarity of a terminology in three articles? Are the three articles focusing on something like sustainability, assurance on sustainability? Assurance on sustainability. Do you found the word assurance in all the three articles? First assurance, second assurance, third assurance. Assurance on what? Sustainability, sustainability, sustainability. Now we need to see what's the difference. How can they be examined? Because this to me is very, very critical now for the 2024 exams. With the introduction of the proposed international standard on sustainability assurance, with that article coming in, things will be very different for March 24 exams. There is a possibility of this being examined for 8 to 10 marks, and you should all be open for that. Let's go back to my presentation where we were discussing the other assignments. Now let's start with the final one. Assurance on sustainability information. And something very important, and I will be spending some time here. Assurance on sustainability information. Listen very carefully. Examining team wrote two articles, part 1 and part 2. I just shown you that, right? On assurance on social, environmental, and sustainability information in 2023, followed by now a new article on exposure draft for International Standards on Sustainability Assurance 5000 in February 24. So I think in the last 6 months of 2023, examining team wrote the part 1 and part 2 article, Assurance on Social, Environmental and Sustainability Information. The focus was on assurance of the information. And then the examining team came with the exposure draft, which was published by IAASB on ISSA, International Standards on Sustainability Assurance 5000 in February 24. Now, I've already done a video lecture for my registered students on that, but primarily for my webinar students. Looking at this on your screen, part 1, part 2, and ISSA 5000, what are we expecting in March 24? And how you should be preparing yourself for each. In view of these recent publications, the importance of a question around assurance on sustainability information, bracket case specific one, or a knowledge testing one, specifically from the exposure draft ISSA 5000, looks likely in March 24. So either the examiner gives you a case specific question from part 1 and part 2, or the examining team gives you a case specific question from the exposure draft, or the examining team asks some knowledge. We know whenever a new article is published, even the examining team is very fond of asking the definitions or asking the difference. What is the difference between this and this? So be prepared for even the knowledge testing. Now, you need to read the article for knowledge testing. Sorry. Particularly the ISSA 5000. Is that clear? Is this bullet clear to all of you, this one? So what are we expecting if a case comes to you? What are we expecting if a knowledge comes to you from within the three articles? Let's take some examples. I'm first doing the part 1 and part 2, the two articles, assurance on social, environmental, and sustainability information, part 1 and part 2, the articles which were published in the last 6 months of 2023, before we come to the ISSA 5000. Because the subject matter of the three is the same, assurance. Part 1. What does the part 1 article covers? Assurance on social, environmental, and sustainability information. The part 1 covers auditor responsibility for other information as part of the audit engagement. You all know that it is the auditor responsibility that when you are performing the audit of the financial statement, as part of the audit of financial statement, it is your responsibility to read the other information, true or false. As part of your audit of financial statement, is it the auditor responsibility to read the other information? Yes, it's true. And if you find any material inconsistency in the other information, will you report that in your other information paragraph? Do you know there is an other information paragraph in the audit report where the auditor tells about the responsibility of the auditor towards other information? So even as part of your audit of financial statements, when your focus is on financial statement, you are finding some time to read the other information. Now, the other information is about social. The other information is about environmental. The other information is about sustainable. And you're reading through it. And if you find any inconsistency in that information, you will be reporting that to TCWG. And if the TCWG fails to rectify that, you will be putting this in the other information paragraph. So that's basically part of ISA 720. So the part 1 simply explores ISA 720, nothing else. And I think you all have knowledge of ISA 720. You all have knowledge of the other information in the document containing the financial statement. And you all know the auditor responsibility to read the other information. So the part 1 article is same like ISA 720. Is that clear to all of you? So yes, examining team can ask you what are auditor responsibility for other information, or the examining team can ask you that what the auditor should do when he identifies a material inconsistency in other information. So that's typically the reporting part. Part 2 of the article. If the client requests the audit firm to offer a separate engagement on assurance on sustainability information, so what matters will the firm consider? Now, suppose the client asks you that can you provide me a separate engagement on assurance on my sustainability information? Because my shareholders are very desperate about that, or my shareholder wants a separate assurance on sustainability information. You do read other information, right, as part of your audit. But in the part 2, they're talking about a separate engagement. So what matters will your firm consider if you're offering a separate engagement? Is this something like what you've done in practice management, syllabus area C, all of you? Are you familiar with this question, matters to consider in accepting the engagement from syllabus area C, practice management? Is that clear to all of you? Part 2. So if you are asked to offer a separate engagement on assurance of sustainability information, so what matters will the firm consider? Again, some very typical matters like deadline, fees, resources, but some very specific matters given in the part 2 article. So when you're preparing the part 2 article, you are extracting from the part 2 article the matters you should consider when you are invited by the client to accept an engagement on sustainability assurance. So are you clear between part 1 and part 2? Part 1 is ISA 720, the auditor responsibility for other information in the document containing the financial statement. And the part 2 is when you offer a separate engagement on sustainability assurance, what matters will you consider? So it's more about the practice management, right? The part 2 as a separate engagement. So is everyone clear with the segregation of part 1 and 2? Any confusions between part 1 and part 2? Okay, now let's move on. Key areas from part 1 and part 2 article on assurance on social, environmental, and sustainability information. The part 1 of the article primarily covers auditor responsibility for other information in the document containing the financial statement and what the auditor do for other information as part of the audit engagement. So this is what is in part 1, right? So it's primarily focusing on ISA 720 and your responsibility. The part 2 of the articles, just like all other assignments in AAA, should be well versed with matters in accepting the engagement on assurance on sustainability insurance. You have seen this topic, matters in accepting engagement in PFI, matters in accepting engagement in forensic. Examiner is very fond of asking a question, matters in accepting the engagement. Is this question very popular in AAA, matters in accepting the engagement? So that same question is coming to the part 2 of the article, but the subject matter of the engagement is sustainability assurance. So please do read the article part 2 so that you know exactly what sort of matters you need to write in exam paper, apart from the typical matters you write in all other answers. And procedures. What if the examining team asks you procedures on the given social, environmental, and sustainability information? Examining team gives you some sustainability information in the case study, or some environmental information in the case study, or some social information in the case study, and they ask you to write procedures for 6 marks. You know, procedures is a very common topic in AAA, and procedure can come on any subject matter. And in other assignments, procedures are very common. So matters and procedures. Is this something unusual? You see matters and procedures in forensic, you see them in PFI, you see them in due diligence. So same question, but on a different subject matter. Is everyone clear? So will you be reading the part 2 article for examples of matters? Will you be reading the part 2 article for examples of procedures, which can come in your exam setting? I'm just waiting for your answer. So part 1 is about ISA 720, so I'm not worried about it. Part 2 is about a separate engagement, and I'm more concerned that this could come in March 24, a separate engagement. So are you all clear? Will you read the part 2? Will you make the notes from the part 2 that what matters to consider in accepting the engagement? And will you make notes of the procedures, examples of procedure the examining team has given in part 2 article? Okay, now my question is, we got an exposure draft. And what is the title of the exposure draft? ISSA, International Standards on Sustainability Assurance. Okay, just 1 minute. Mark, you want me to go through the previous page? Is that what you're looking for, Mark? Mark, is that what you are requesting? Okay, should I move forward now? Can I go ahead? Okay, thank you. Now, the title of the new standard. Okay, just 1 minute, sorry. Any key questions to be done for part 1 and part 2 of the article? There is a very old question, December 10, question number 2. But this is an excellent question because this covers procedures, this covers matters, and I've already done this for my regular students. Now, any one of you can search this question on the Google, AAA December 10, question number 2. It's either by the name of Eastwood, because Eastwood was the name of the client, or it's either with the name of Newman. Newman was the name of the firm. So either you will get a question by the name of Eastwood or Newman. It's the December 10, question number 2. But this question is such an excellent question. It covers social, environmental, and sustainability information, procedures, and it also covers uh, the matters. So please ensure you do spend time on it, though it's a very old question. If I can just show you that on your screen. Uh, can you see a question on your screen now in front of you, all of you? Okay, you can't see the question, or you can see a question. Okay, just 1 minute. Can you now see a question? December 10, question number 2, very old one. Please ensure you find it on the Google. My regular students will have access to that. This is by the name of you are a manager in Newman Company, a global firm of chartered accountant. You are responsible for evaluating the proposed engagements and recommending to the team of partners whether or not an engagement should be accepted by your firm. Eastwood is a listed company. Eastwood takes, this question is about here, see this. Can you just read this line here? Can you just read this line? Let me highlight this in yellow. Can you just read this yellow highlighted sentence? Right? Have you read this yellow line? So is the company asking for a separate assurance on the KPIs, a separate assurance on social, environmental, and sustainability information? Because the KPIs are about social and environment. Can you just see this line over here? Uh, can you just read this paragraph on your screen? The next one, to help you in your evaluation of this potential engagement. Can you just read this line? See how many KPIs they have. They have 25 environmental KPIs and they have 50 social KPIs. So they have asked for a separate assurance report on KPIs. So indirectly, have they asked for a separate assurance report on sustainability information? True or false? Have they asked for a separate a separate report on sustainability information? Right? So this is a so old question. And this so old question was on sustainability, social environment, 2010. And this question is such a good example of a sort of a question you might find in upcoming exams. Look at the requirements. The requirement asks you, look at the first requirement. If you can read the first requirement yourself and tell me, do you understand the first requirement? Is this exactly what was the scope of the part 2 article? Is this question exactly the scope of the part 2 article? So part 2 article was asking for uh, a separate engagement and the matters you should consider in accepting the engagement on sustainability information. And then can you look at the second part? The second part is asking for procedures, recommend the procedures. And the procedures are number of serious accidents, that is social, average spend on training, that is social. So procedures on the social KPIs. And then the C part of this question is about other information in the document containing the financial statement. Explain the responsibility of the auditor in relation to other information published within the financial statement. So that is more about ISSA-5000. So both the part 1 and both the part 2 is being examined in this December 10 paper. Just go get hold of this December 10 paper from Google if you are not my registered student. If you are a registered student, you already have access to this question paper, and I have done this as part of my debriefing for the part 1 and part 2 article. So this is a wonderful question which I believe is will set the tone for any future exams, and you should look into this question very well ahead of your March 24 exam papers. So this is what I was telling you. December 10 question 2, either by the name of Eastwood Company or by the name of Newman Company. Now we come to the new article, ISSA 5000 ED. What is the difference between ISSA 5000 ED and the part 2 of the article? Because the part 2 of the article was dealing with sustainability assurance as a separate engagement. And this particular article, ISSA 5000, itself is on the same subject matter, International Standards on Sustainability Assurance. Now, this is the standard, right? The part 2 article was not a standard. The part 2 article was telling you about the matters you should consider when you are invited to accept an engagement and the procedures you should follow. But when the article was published, there was no guidance of the ISSA 5000. Now you have a guidance of ISSA 5000. So what matters will you consider when you are approaching an engagement on sustainability assurance? You can get better guidance of that from ISSA 5000. There is no conflicting element in ISSA 5000 and the previous article of the examiner part 2. So both articles are fine to be read. It's not like the previous article will become superseded. No, the previous article has not become superseded because all the information given in the previous article is in line with ISSA 5000. There is no contradiction. But yes, ISSA 5000 has introduced few more important things which are examinable and could be asked for in the upcoming exams. How different is the exposure draft to the previous 2 articles on the same subject matter? The previous 2 articles on the same subject matter is dealing with sustainability assurance. And that is the case with ISSA 5000. It is also dealing with sustainability assurance. The only thing is that this is the framework. That articles are not the framework. The articles are giving you a guidance on the subject matter in the absence of a framework when they were published. Now, when you look at the 2 articles with the particular framework, you're getting a better approach to sustainability assurance. Now, in 2024, when you're looking at these articles, you say, oh, I have a framework, and the previous 2 articles are now to be read in line with the framework. But again, there is no contradiction, right? There is no contradiction between those 2 articles and what's referred in ISSA 5000. So can you read the previous 2 articles? Yes. You will find no conflicts. How can this be tested? ISSA 5000 ED. The exposure draft explore the rationale and the objective of introducing this standard. Students should be well versed with it. So many times in the past paper, when a new article is published or a new exposure draft is published, examining team can even ask you explain the rationale or explain the objective of introducing ISSA 5000, and you're sitting blank in the exam hall because you didn't read the article. Please ensure you read the article for what is the rationale and what is the objective of introducing this standard. It could be asked for 4 to 5 marks. Number 2, the new ED, ISSA 5000 covers the process of engagement. If you are offering sustainability assurance as a separate engagement to the client, what is the process? Just like any other engagement you offer as an auditor, the process is the same. You start from planning, you do the risk assessment, you determine the materiality, you gather evidence, and you do the reporting. These stages are for every engagement the audit firm offer. True, whether you're offering an audit engagement or a non-audit engagement. So there is nothing unusual here, right? So if you're offering a sustainability assurance as a separate engagement, something which is not mentioned in the part 2 article is the process. We plan, We do the risk assessment, we determine the materiality, we gather evidence, we do reporting. And all the 5 steps are explained in the new ISSA 5000. So examining team can ask you something about planning, something about risk assessment, something about materiality, something about gathering evidence, something about reporting, because all these 5 are very well explained in ISSA 5000. So you should know the process of engagement. The process is nothing unusual, but please do read the process. So because every part of the process has been connected with sustainability assurance. So please make notes of that. Number 3, the materiality section of the article contains terms like bifurcated materiality. What if you get a question in March 24 paper? Explain the term bifurcated materiality, 2 marks, and you have not read the article. What is meant by bifurcated materiality? I've already covered it for my registered students. But again, you have to read the article if you are the self-study students. Bifurcated materiality. And what is meant by double materiality? These are 2 specific terminologies which are used by the examining team in the article: bifurcated materiality and double materiality. Both seems important to be asked for in the exam paper. Please look at the bullet number 3. So when you're reading this article, you need to look into the knowledge. You need to make notes of the knowledge, because knowledge is examinable whenever a new exposure draft comes in. So examining team can directly ask knowledge for 7 to 8 marks, or they can connect something from exposure draft to a case study, just like the one I shown you from the December 10 paper. The last part, 4th, the ED also cover ethical issues. There is a separate section on ethical issues given in ED and specific risk related to sustainability information. When you are accepting the engagement to report on sustainability information, what sort of risk can there be in sustainability information? Can sustainability information be massaged just like the financial statement? Can there be creative accounting in sustainability information just like you do creative accounting in the financial statement? So there could be a risk of biasness and fraudulent reporting in the numbers for sustainability information, in how you're reporting sustainability information, and you should be very skeptical. So examining team has talked about the specific risk of bias and fraudulent reporting even in sustainability information, which you should have in mind at the time of planning this particular engagement. Yes, Deng, I hope you've read the article, right? Because that's the definition you're giving me of double materiality is perfectly fine, because that means you've read the article and you're well versed with it, right? That's great. So the ED also covers the ethical issues. What if you get a question on sustainability assurance and the examining team asks you to explain, evaluate the ethical and professional issues from the request to offer sustainability assurance? The ethical issues are given in the article. So, which an audit firm should be aware of specifically when offering assurance on sustainability information to the client as a separate engagement? Very important from exam perspective. So, from the ED, what is important? The rationale and the objective in the point number 1. In the point number 2, the process of the engagement, all the 5 process. Number 3, what is bifurcated materiality and what is double materiality? And in the point number 4, the ethical issues and the specific risk, which the examining team has covered in the article. So anything out of the 4 can be examined. A question like December 10, a question asking you that you need to offer a separate engagement on sustainability assurance, what matters will you consider? The question can ask for ethical and professional issues. The question can ask for procedures on sustainability information. Be prepared for that. Is this everyone clear with it? If I can just brush over the article for a minute, can just show you this new article on the website. I hope you can see that in front of your screen, all of you now. Can you all see this new article, Proposed International Standards on Sustainability Assurance, ISSA 5000 in front of your screen? So please read through it. There are some very important paragraphs here. The proposed standard. Why there was a need to introduce this proposed standard? Look at this. Read this. Please read this and make notes. Why there was a need of the proposed standard? Look at this in front of you. Please make notes of this. Then go down. See this, applying ISSA 5000 ED. What is the objective of ISSA ED? What if the examining team asks you for 3 marks or 4 marks? What is the objective of ISSA 5000? You're blank. Read it. There are 3 objectives, A, B, C. So please ensure you know these objectives very well. Then they're telling you how you accept the engagement. So methods to accept the engagement on sustainability assurance. So acceptance, then planning, then materiality. In materiality, they have given you the word bifurcated approach right here. Then they've given you this approach of double materiality here, double materiality in the para 2. In the para 2, the double materiality. In the para 1, bifurcated approach. Then they've given you how you obtain evidence on sustainability information. Then how you report on sustainability information. What is the assurance level? The assurance level has been covered here. And then risk, the risk of greenwashing. Whenever the management reports the sustainability information, they do the greenwashing, just like they do the window dressing of the financial statement. In the same way, you do the greenwashing of the sustainability information. You present a better picture to impress your stakeholders. And then examine team has covered the ethical aspect. What are ethical issues underlying this engagement? So please ensure every heading of this article is read. And for every heading, you make short notes if you are a self-study student. Is that clear to all of you? So has the message about new article and the way it could be tested been disseminated to all of you through this webinar? But yes, if you are my registered student, this article has been done, it has been covered, you know how to go about it, right? And I've also done the December 10 paper when I was doing the part 1 and the part 2 article as part of my regular courses, right? So please ensure this particular article in front of your screen. The previous 2 articles, part 1 and part 2, the exam question December 10 is all what you should focus on in these last few days. And please also ensure that you're not just giving every possible time to sustainability assurance, and you are not giving time to the other assignments like due diligence, PFI, audit of performance information. All of them are still valid and important. Okay. So please ensure you cover every possible aspect of syllabus area F. How many articles you are going through from syllabus area F? A total of 5 articles. Performance information in the public sector, I did recommended that article. Forensic audit, I did recommended that article. Assurance on social, environmental, and sustainability information, part 1 and part 2. And then the new ISSA 5000. So 2 articles here, 2, 3, 4, 5. Total of 5 articles, and you will have a strong grip on this syllabus area. Do the key questions. Do the question I recommended you for the sustainability assurance, the December 10. And if you make a timetable, you focus on everything which has been guided to you in the quick grasp of syllabus area A, B, C, syllabus area D and E, and now syllabus area F. You will be preparing yourself in the best possible manner for the upcoming exams. So I hope this quick grasp, which was spread over 3 days of this webinar, must have benefited you all in terms of taking a checklist for the whole syllabus, a checklist of the questions, a checklist of the articles, a checklist of what comes from each topic, and how you should be preparing around each topic so that you can take a very good command on the 100 marks paper for the upcoming exam. Is that clear to all of you? So that's completing the quick grasp, and that's also completing the day 3. Now, day 4 tomorrow is important because we'll just go into the question number 1. We'll try to understand every important attribute of the question number 1, every important side of the question number 1, and what sort of things the student do wrong in the question number 1? What sort of things you should look at for grabbing easy marks in question number 1? All that will be discussed in the day 4 tomorrow, and then some very important tips coming your way on the day 5 of this webinar. There is no Word file for this webinar. There's only a presentation, and I've been sharing presentations in the WhatsApp group since yesterday and day before yesterday. I've already shared the day 1, day 2, day 3 presentations in the WhatsApp group just before starting the webinar today. So there is no Word file. There is only a presentation file. Boima. For you to be added to the WhatsApp group, please do message me at 9233323883442. I'm sending this WhatsApp number to everyone. I hope you got my WhatsApp number. Just WhatsApp me and I'll be adding you to the WhatsApp group. Is that clear to all of you? So I'm saying you goodbye and wishing you all the best of luck once again. And this is a goodbye from the day 3 of this AAA March 24 webinars to success. And I'll be back with the day 4, looking into question number 1, something very important. And I would like all of you to be there in the live session, so you missed nothing out of that very important discussion coming tomorrow. Take care, study effectively, all of you, and I see you back tomorrow. Goodbye and Allah Hafiz.